Rest, rest well and prosper. As I mentioned in one previous posting, the Bible informs us that God is greatly concerned about our rest physically, our rest spiritually, our rest socially, our rest intellectually, and a rest with the material world, overall rest. It is of such great importance to the Master of the universe that he ordained, he specified, he set apart, he blessed a certain day for rest. And when we talk about that rest, we're talking about the Master of the universe. For that rest is to help us to be connected with the Master of the universe. And because it is specified by the Master of the universe, as stated in Genesis chapter 2, verses 1 to 3, then it is of great importance. Some will say that that was for the Jew. No, at creation there was no Jew. There was humanity. There was righteous Adam. And Adam was to enter into that rest because what the Master was doing was to exemplify things for Adam. So obviously, Adam must have entered into that first rest. Tell me that book of Genesis is a late production coming into the book of Exodus, late production. What those late productions would be doing is pointing to earlier existence. Come now with me and watch that carefully. Late production, but it would be pointing to earlier existence, the creation of the world. Within that creation narrative, there is the information about a specific rest day. It was not that God just said to Adam, come enter into rest with me, and they just zip off to some place and just rest. No, it was highlighted. God rested. He blessed that day and he sanctified that day. God, the causal factor, specified a day. Rest on that day. Bless that day. Set that day apart. Therefore, it is something to watch and something to be concerned about. Because, as stated by some, at a point in time, that would have been changed. That would have been changed. Now we're going to build up to all of that, and we're going to be looking at the truth of that, or looking at how logical, how sensible, how divine that would be. Now we look at Sabbath establishment or rest day establishment in Genesis. Let's move over to the book of Exodus. And again, let me say, yes, we're going to say Exodus late production, but Exodus is, it's quite clear, Exodus is interpreting that which is we are informed about in Genesis. Whether it came 4th century, 3rd century, 21st century, whichever century, but it is informing about the beginning of time. The beginning of time. The people were to understand what it meant to rest. Yes. And here, let me pause to say to us, do not overly, do not allow yourself to be carried away with technicalities. People begin to develop some technical things about creation. In Genesis, it was given for ordinary people to understand that there's a rest day. And in Exodus, it's following in the same line that they should understand that that rest day was set apart. Now, yes, when we come to Exodus, we come to the Israelites. And they were given information as to what happened earlier. The God who created, the God who took you out of Egypt. When you read Exodus and Deuteronomy, you get them two pictures. The God who took you out of Egypt, that God is very much concerned about a special rest. Let's look at the book of Exodus. When we come to the 16th chapter of Exodus, we have a marvelous story there. Because of time, I'm not going to stop to read it for you this morning, but in the 16th chapter of Exodus, there is that marvelous story. Children of Israel were going through the wilderness. Reach a point where food was in short supply, and after all was said and done, some quarreling as per human being and various things happening. The Lord said, all right, food will come to you. Can we believe the story? Well, some choose not to believe it. But the record says God provided food in a very special way. And that food was to come down from someplace every day, except the seventh day. Now, I want you to follow this story carefully. Moses told the people that the Lord, the master of the universe, is commanding or demanding, ordering that they collect the food daily. That which you need for day one, collect and use. Day two, collect and use. Day three, collect and use. Day four, collect and use. Day five, collect and use. Day six, collect, use, and keep for the seventh day. On the seventh day, you must not go out and look for food coming to the camp. Your food supply will not be there coming to you on the seventh day. When you collect on day one, if some is left over, it's going to experience spoliation, and the worms will come up and eat it. It's not to be kept day one over for day two, because day two you're going to have your sumptuous supply. The record tells me that some people did not listen, did not bother to pay attention to what was specified. So day one, they would collect and they would have some left over. Why they're keeping it over, I don't know, because tomorrow more will come down. Spoil it, rot, stink, and the worms get in. But as stated by Moses, when the sixth day arrived, they collected for the sixth day and they collected for the seventh day, and it was stored away. I don't know how they stored it. I don't think they had fridges and all like that in the wilderness, but they stored it away anyway. But happy to say, when they get up on the seventh day, their food was still fresh and nice for them to eat. In earlier days, when I preach about the Sabbath, I preach from this text. The worms knew something that man ought to know. The worms were not active. The worms were not busy. The bacteria which cause a breakdown and decomposition, they were at rest on the seventh day. Is that too good to believe? Choose to believe it, yes or no. But I am believing the principle that was there. The principle is saying that the master who created and set apart that special day was at work in Israel's experience, and the leader want them to understand that the seventh day was set apart, sanctified for them to rest. One part of the record says it's a holy day. It's a day unto the Lord. So on that sixth to seventh day, the master, nature, was speaking to humanity, asking humanity to come in harmony with the universal existence so that they may be better off. Rest, rest well, and prosper. Yes, so we get on to another passage in Exodus 20, verses 8 to 11. Again, when you have some time, read it through. That was placed there with the Ten Commandments. Again, tell me that it's late development. It's late, it was written, but it is set in such a position that people might understand that it is important. The commandments given to Moses in a very dramatic way, nature was speaking to the fact that it was coming from the master of the universe. It said the mountain were reeling and tossing, a fire in the mountain. Moses was given the command, but the rest day was set into that great event. And listen to how it started. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. As of creation, 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. It is He who, the causal factor, cause a Sabbath, a rest day to be there. So you be a part of it. And not just you, speaking to the husbands at that time, the men of the house. Your whole family is to be with you. The stranger is to be with you. Your cattle is to be there. Your cattle are to be there. There to be a rest. There is some sort of universalism. There's some sort of, yes, it includes all creation. And when you go through that passage, you discover that it is pointing back to creation. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth. And if it is so, it is of supreme importance, not something to be brushed aside, not something to be lightly treated. If that must experience some change, then the master of the universe, we don't want to put it that way, for we cannot control him or tell him what to do. But if he's going to change that because he spent so much time instilling within his people that it's important, then it was a sort of demand and the master to tell us, I change that and I want you to do this or that. Let's follow through. When we come to Exodus 31, I'm going to look at that one with you quickly. Exodus 31. There is another reminder that that Sabbath day, that rest day, is very, very important. Let's look at Exodus 31, and we're looking at verses 12 to 18. Exodus 31. Let's go from verse 12. And the Lord spake to Moses, saying, Speak also to the children of Israel, saying, Surely my Sabbath you shall keep. Watch the plural there. Sometime we're going to work on that. For it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am the Lord who sanctify you. Sanctify you, that you may use the sanctified day to be in touch with me, the Holy One. And so it was. We jump down to verse 15. Work shall be done for 6 days, but the seventh is a Sabbath of rest, holy in the Lord. Whoever does any work on the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death. Is that saying that the rest day was of great importance and meaningful, the most meaningful event in their existence? It surely was. Verse 17, it is referring to the rest day. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days the Lord made the heaven and the earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed. Yes, there is anthropological usage of language there. But let us remember, the Lord was speaking through Moses to people Moses was leading. It is greatly emphasized there that the rest day was important. Yes, tell me that it was for the children of Israel. We're going to sort that out as we go along. At the beginning, it was not just for the children of Israel, it was for creation, the whole creation, the whole created order, and more so for Adam and Eve. No, Moses is relating to the Israelite, the people he's leading. He's talking to them. If you dig up in some records, you will discover that there were some other people outside of Israel that at that time they were worshiping on a seventh day. Mhm. And so we have that record. Then we go on to find another one, Exodus 34, verse 21. I'm going to look at that one with you again. Exodus 34, 21. Exodus, it is what we're seeing now as Exodus interpreting Genesis chapter 2. So let's go to Exodus 31 and hear what the writer, whether you want to call him Moses or whoever you want to call him, but let's listen to what he is saying. Exodus 31. Yes. 31. What we want now? We want verse 21. Or let's look from verse 12. And the Lord spake to Moses, saying, Speak also to the children of Israel, saying, Surely my Sabbath you shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you. And then right? No, we gone back to Exodus 31. I'm talking about Exodus 34 now. Sorry for that. Exodus 34 and verse 21. 6 days you shall work, but on the seventh day you shall rest. In plowing time and in harvest you shall rest. That is a part of the Exodus story. And then we have another one in Exodus 35, and we're looking at verses 1 to 3. Then Moses gathered all the congregation of the children of Israel together and said to them, These are the words which the Lord has commanded you to do. Work shall be done for 6 days, but the seventh day shall be a holy day for you, a Sabbath of rest to the Lord. Whoever does any work on it shall be put to death. You shall kindle no fire throughout your dwellings on the Sabbath day. Is that suggesting that the writer of Exodus agree that it was Moses? Yes or no? Agree that it was later development? Yes or no? Agree that it is whatever it was, but we cannot disagree to the fact that it is pointing back to what took place as recorded in Genesis chapter 2. That's the interpretational matter to say the seventh day was important. That rest day was important. That rest day is there. It is at the expense of your life that you fail to do it. And we fail to understand that sometimes. Yes, like in Genesis, we might not die physically, but we might be dying materially. And I'm going to look at that, especially when we come to Isaiah. We die materially, we die intellectually, we die socially, we die spiritually, we die eventually physically. Exodus is saying to us, there was a rest day, a rest day that was blessed by the Master of the universe, a rest day that was sanctified, set apart. And you know something? It is from such source that many of us have drawn the concept of truly resting on a day. And if that is so, then we ought to pay special attention to that rest day. Yes, God rested, God blessed, God sanctified. What do you do with that 7 day? Hold on. We're working towards that. Is it still of great importance? Some say no, some say yes. Don't just rush away. Let us build up. Let us sort of apply the rules of the discipline history of interpretation and get to that point. Be wise and prosper today. While you're experiencing the blessing, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Your comments, they're very important. They're very helpful. What I try to do is to get it right from Scripture for my good and for the good of those I work with. Have a blessed day.